Hi, my name is Scarlett Wedby. I am team lead for sales engineers here at Tilium, and today I'm going to walk you through a high-level overview of what our platform has to offer. So what you're seeing here first is the summary screen. This is the screen that a user will be brought to upon logging into Tilium itself. We have multiple environments that you can push your different types of configurations into, dev, QA, and production. You can permission who has access to those different environments. Next, we have our data sources list, as well as load rules, tags, extensions, and versions. Data sources are basically going to be the foundational piece that's going to fuel the tag management side of the house for Tilium, or as we like to fondly refer to it, TIQ. This is comprised of metadata, query string parameters, JavaScript page variables, and first-party cookies, as well as a universal data object. This is going to help to structure your data and create a single point of reference that you can leverage across your entire digital marketing stack. Data sources are going to feed into load rules. So let's say that you only want certain tags to fire on a confirmation page, or maybe perhaps you have an ad campaign that's running. You can create load rules so that only those tags will fire on those specific pages themselves or under certain events. Once the tags are called to the page, what data is Tilium going to listen for? And where are we going to output it within those different tag vendors? And we're integrated today with over 850 different vendors. We have about 300 more in our queue, and this is all customer driven. We incorporate them completely free of charge to you. And then finally, being able to do data manipulation, so extensions. And extensions are exactly what they sound like. It's extended Tilium functionality. You want to do a better job with event tracking. We have an extension for that. You want to do a better job of tracking how people are being driven to your site. We have a channels extension that can help you with it. And then finally, we have a version tab here. And this is really going to be marketing configuration sets themselves. One good example is on Cyber Monday. Let's say that you have a whole unique initiative around different types of campaigns that you're running, as well as tags that are going to be firing. You can deploy those in the form of a version, roll those out accordingly, and then from there, you can capture that information and then roll back to a more commonly used configuration set once that particular version has been completed. So let's dive into the data layer really quick. As I mentioned before, this is comprised of metadata, JavaScript page variables, first-party cookies, and query string parameters. Now we can augment that data set leveraging a universal data object. And we were the first to pioneer this in the space, within the tag management space, that is. So essentially what we're doing is allowing you to put these different types of objects into your own nomenclature, so you no longer have to have your dev resource ramp up on how to actually deploy a specific tag vendor. You define it here once within Tilium. We help you with that. We support you with it. And from there, you can set it and forget it. Now, if you're working with a CMS or an e-commerce solution such as a Hybris or WebSphere or Oracle Commerce or Sitecore WordPress, we can leverage any of those data points as well. And I'll just kind of click through here. And as far as deploying what that bundle looks like, it's very easy. You just import the bundle and you can begin to work with those different data points. Now, in addition to that, we also have standard data bundles that we see commonly used through our different deployments that we've worked with different customers on. So what we've done here is made it very easy for you to deploy those. So let's say that you're an e-commerce site, you want to import this data bundle list, and I'll just quickly scroll through it here. So we have order total, product SKU, order type, customer information. We can import this and also begin to work with it as well. And now you can see that I've imported all of those different data points and I can begin to work with them accordingly. So let's get to the part that I'm sure that you're very interested in seeing. What does it look like to deploy a tag within Tilium itself, right? So here's our tag marketplace. As I mentioned before, we have over 850 different integrations today. So we do the heavy lifting for you. We get that vendor code and implementation instructions. We reverse engineer that code and we wrap it in Tilium functionality. And what you see here is a very easy to use point and click interface. So I'm just going to select a commonly used email service provider exact target here. And upon selecting that email service provider, I'm going to be launched into a tag configuration wizard. Now, this is going to be the same flow to add in any tag vendor into Telium. It's not working within JavaScript code. You're essentially just entering in your account information, so where you want the data to go once the tag is called to the page. Next, we're going to tell Telium when we want that tag to fire. The default is to load on all pages, but being that this is an actual email marketing tag, maybe we have a specific email campaign, right? And I pre-built one here that says 20% off. So anytime someone that clicks through on an email campaign that you send to them, 20% off to get a purchase, we're going to fire this exact target campaign. Finally, once the tag is called to the page, what data is Telium going to listen for, and where are we going to output it to, in this case, exact target? So here's that entire data layer list that we were looking at before. All that metadata, all of those query string parameters, you have that exposed on the page itself, and from there, Telium simply listens for it and passes it into the appropriate output point. So we could do something simple like, customer ID, right? Where are we going to output this? This mapping toolbox, similar to the tag configuration screen, is going to be unique to each specific tag vendor. So we figured out what those different custom parameters are and static settings are for each of those 850 different vendors that we're currently integrated with and are expanding upon. So I just go through a simple mapping exercise here, and that's it. I haven't had to touch any JavaScript code. I haven't had to tap a developer in order to help me get this up and going. Let's just go through another example while we're going through a walkthrough of our interface, and let's do something simple like, Google Remarketing Adwords. You'll notice that this tag configuration screen is also unique to Google AdWords. It's completely different than what we saw within, exact target. So from here, you would enter in your conversion ID. Next, you're going to apply load rules, but let's say, for example, you don't even see the load rule that you want to work with. Well, we can create it on the fly here. Or maybe I do see the load rule I want to work with, but keeping in mind that I want to work with this particular vendor, AdWords, I only want this tag to fire if someone gets to a confirmation page and the traffic source comes from an AdWords campaign. Let's take a look at how we can customize this particular load rule. If I click on this drop-down list, not only do I have DOM elements, but I also have that data layer that I showed you briefly before, right? So from here, maybe as opposed to the path name, if the refer URL, and then I can just use some logic here, Boolean logic that is, if it contains something, or if we want to use a mathematical operator, or if you do have an international presence and you have other sites localized into other languages, reg expression, I can leverage all of that here. What I did simply was, hey, if purchase confirmation page contains thank you, Telium, I want you to execute this tag. But keeping with the example that I just described, we also want this particular tag to only fire if someone gets to that confirmation page and if the traffic source comes from AdWords. So let's just say if path name contains AdWords, Telium, I want you to execute this tag. We can get even more granular by creating OR conditioning. We can also create time-based load rules as well. Maybe this AdWords campaign is only going to run for 2 weeks, and perhaps I only want that particular tag to fire under my heaviest volume of traffic, and we'll just hypothetically say it's from 2 to 7 every single day. I can specify this within Telium itself. So outside of these specific time parameters, Telium will not execute the conditional logic nor the tag itself that it's associated with. The takeaway that I want you to have here is that we can get as granular as need to be, or keep it as high level as you would like, and we'll help you with that. And then finally, I'm just going to go through another mapping exercise. And here we have that entire data layer that we can leverage, right? So, we'll just say maybe customer ID again, or page type. I'll just select customer ID to start with. And you'll notice that this mapping toolbox is completely different than what we saw with an exact target as well. Taking all that information, centralizing it, and making it easy for you to have a point-and-click interface. So I just determine where I want to send that particular information, and I'll just select, page type as another example. We'll output it into Adwords. So once Tealium sees that data on the page itself, and the tag is called to the page, Tealium fires all of the tags, serves it within the browser on the initial hit of the session, and from there, Tealium can listen for that data exposed within the page and say, okay, I know that when I see these two data sources exposed, I'm going to output them to Google AdWords. Whereas within Google Analytics, for example, we see these two different data points, and we're going to output them to these two custom parameters that are unique to Google Analytics themselves. But what if we want to map in additional information, right? So we have a new configuration set that we're going to send. I can edit what I'm currently seeing, and maybe perhaps we want to send that campaign information that we set up for our exact target tag, that 20% off coupon, into Google Analytics now. I simply search for it in our data layer, and I select the custom output. And I can send this to anything that's defined within Google Analytics. So maybe I want to send this into a campaign ID, and I also want to send this into a visitor or a session view. I can just adjust this accordingly, and it's that simple. So I've added in several tags, I've modified a load rule, I've added in additional data points, all without having to dig into any sort of JavaScript page variables, using developer codes, anything along those lines. Now, we certainly can use developer tools and things of that nature if you want. But the point is, you want to have that simplicity. You want to be able to have a single point of reference. And Tealium provides you with that marketing agility that perhaps outside of a true enterprise tag management solution, you're lacking today. Now, another point that we're going to talk about here is extensions. And extensions are exactly what they sound like. As I mentioned before, extended Tealium functionality. It's a coupled functionality that allows you to manipulate data to make it work better by the time that it gets to your tag vendors. One of those is our Ecommerce Extension. And the Ecommerce Extension allows users to define a standard set of data sources such as order total, product name, order ID, and it can be used with any tag vendor that has e-commerce capabilities. So you no longer have to create long product arrays or order strings. The e-commerce extension generates that string when the information is present on the page, and it sends those strings or arrays to the vendors themselves. We also have additional extensions that we can work with. You can create set data values or persist data. We talked briefly about jQuery on handler events, or if you're using Angular, we can work with that as well. But let's take a look at how we can actually work within the page itself as far as leveraging in-page data. So I'm going to pull up a test site here, Tealium e-commerce. And I have this tool here called Web Companion. And Web Companion allows you to do a couple things within the site itself. One, you can do an in-page audit. So for the account, profile, version, environment that you're looking at, you can see the actual tags firing on the page itself. Any extensions that we're currently working with. So here's that e-commerce extension that I talked about. Any sort of modal pop-ups or content modification, we can see that here. And if you had any load rules that were applied to the page, you could test it out as well. So a business user that maybe isn't quite as technical as your IT and development team, they can come in, set some things up, and see, hey, are the tags that I actually want to apply to my site through Tealium firing on the page itself? Next, we can also do some other sophisticated things by working within the comfort of your site. So what I selected here was our in-page tools helper, and it does a couple of things here. We can target any sort of HTML element on the site itself. So here I just selected VIP, and maybe I want to track when somebody is actually clicking on this particular button here. I can say, and you can see where it's defined, hey, Telium, when someone does a show or a hide or a mouse down on this particular button, I want to trigger a page view or maybe a link event or something custom. And I can add this directly into the Telium environment itself. And from there, we will invoke those event tracking calls without the user needing to have any jQuery programming knowledge. Really powerful stuff. I can also, if you want to do a better job of A/B testing, work with our content modification extension here. So I still have this VIP button that I've clicked on here, and I can say, maybe I want to do a 50-50 split test with content. So 50% of my web traffic is going to see this version of content. The other 50% is going to see this other version of content. And I want to map this into an Optimizely or Google Analytics or a Monetate. We're vendor neutral, so we work with all of those players within the space itself. I can select that. I can build it out without having to dig into my page source code. And I can map it into whatever vendor I want to work with. Again, providing you with that marketing agility to truly see which version of content is going to drive that high ROI value, that ultimate conversion, whatever it may be. So let's jump back into the actual interface itself, TIQ, and let's wrap up here. So within the versions tab, this is going to be a historical timeline of everything that's happened within your Telium instance. So if I click on some of these little, gray buttons here, squares, I should say, we have a date and a timestamp of everything that's happened within my Telium instance and a record of all changes that were made. If I need to revert back to a former version, I can do that right here. If I want to filter by different environments, I can do that as well. And if I had different users that were in here, I could filter by my users. And then, of course, what was pushed out between different versions themselves. I have a record of change of everything that's happened. And then finally, everything that we've been doing is going to generate code. So if I want to push out this new version or save it to the currently existing version, I just click Save Publish here. If I want to create a new version, it's just as simple as what you would do within a Word doc. Save as. You can title this to whatever you want, add into your notes. Some tags here. And then I can push this to whatever environment I want this configuration to be within. And then I have an entire record of what's going to be pushed out before I actually click Save and Publish. And this will be pushed out to our multi-CDN infrastructure. We're partnered with Akamai, Limelight, Edgecast, and Fastly. So this will be pushed out to all of those CDNs within a matter of seconds. Thank you very much for your time today. If you have further questions, feel free to reach out to us. We really appreciate your time, and we look forward to working with you.